so I put the right one in. Because I put the right backing track at the moment.
I don't know about you, man, but I am melting.
I've got a fan on in the background. Or I did have a fan on. I've turned it off now, but I'm going to have it on. The question's only one of them little handheld ones, so good job nobody's got a camera on there.
Oh, when the backing track came on, you went really quiet.
Oh, did I? Oh,
Oh, no, you did. No, you did. That's because I've got the screen on.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome along to League of Europe. We are here tonight for Division 1. It is round 3 of the championship as we take in the United States Grand Prix from the Austin, Texas circuit, of course, the circuit of the Americas. My name is James Head, going to be taking through the stream, as always, on this very sultry Saturday night. And joining me in the commentary box, of course, it is Mr. Killer Blue. Killer, how you doing?
I'm doing very well, thank you. It is sultry, it's hot, it's going to be sweaty in every sense of the word, I think, tonight for those out there. Because, of course, we've got a bumper evening of racing because we've got 2 races for the first time in League of Europe history, which you'll explain in a sec. But we've got a sprint race on a sweaty, awful, humid, sticky day where I think some of these drivers will find their pans and their wheels slipping out of their palms by the end of it.
Yeah, honestly, I'm sweating up already, and my palms are getting very sweaty. And I've only introduced the stream, to be honest. You know how it's going to be going through the rest of tonight, that's for sure. Looking through, of course, the standings from last week as well. The result actually from last week, first and foremost, Montana taking the win. Rudy in second, Campbell there in third. Campbell, I thought, was very unlucky last week. Potentially could have picked up the win, and he is potentially going to be picking up a very good amount of points, of course, next week when he does return. Ruta, Yildirim, Packer, Nico, Verstappen, Pease, and Forza Brendan were the top 10. What did that do to the driver's standings in terms of the top 10? Well, Montana leads the way, 51 points. Pretty much every single point that he has managed to try and pick up, he has done, apart from one fastest lap attempt, which I think was last week, if I'm not mistaken, where he didn't pick up the fastest lap point. Rudy there in second, though, in 22 points. Pease there in third on 19 points. And then it's actually quite close further down the field, with Justas in fourth on 18, Yildirim in 5th on 16, Campbell 6th on 15, then Hyper in 7th on 12, along with Ruta also on 12 and 8, Lovacar there in 9th on 10, and Packer, the American, of course, there in 10th on 10 points as well, so all the 10s there for Packer. But Montana obviously leading the way, 29 points. He has got the advantage coming into tonight. Of course, we've got the sprint race, of course, which is 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Top 10 getting the positions. And then, of course, the traditional point system of the top 12 in the feature race as well. But Killer Blue, obviously, Montana, 51 points, 29 points ahead of Rudy. Can he be stopped?
No, the only man who can stop Montana, I think it's safe to say, is Montana himself. If his focus were to slip or if his determination were to slacken, then maybe you might see the odd mistake or just a drop of his pace disappear. But I think the man is as motivated as he's ever been in League of Europe, having had a season out. He's got, as you say, a 29-point lead. Were this a normal event without a sprint, he could have happily DNF'd and be safely in the knowledge that he would go into round 4 still having his championship lead. The fact he's got a 29-point lead after just 2 races, and neither of those races had sprint points on offer, is beyond staggering. And to be honest, I can't look past him for today. I don't see anyone, no offence to the list of names on the screen, but I can't see anyone there who's in a position to really challenge him today. So I don't think he can be stopped.
Yeah, we were having a discussion a little bit before we came live on air, which some of you might have caught because we had our mics unmuted through OBS. We were having a discussion about, obviously, Montana and how he might, obviously, approach the rest of the season in terms of his race. I personally don't think there's anybody on his level, on his caliber, to actually challenge for the title. So we're saying maybe for second position, it's going to be Rudy, Justas, all of them people who are obviously going to be in contention for second position. But of course, it is going to be interesting because we have got the driver lineup once again. Only 2 replacements into tonight. Lovacar in the Aston Martin being represented by QVR Nikos. The Aston Martin man, the Spaniard is in, and the Aston Martin, and Campbell there in the Alfa Romeo is out. And that means the German of Gladbach is in as well. Wonder if you support Borussia Mönchengladbach, potentially in terms of his name there. But he is replacing Campbell in the Alfa Romeo full-time as well. And obviously looking at those 2, both making their debuts, of course, here tonight. I think Nico's already obviously performed this season. But certainly Gladbach is in this season as a debutant. How do you think he'll get on tonight? Because there's a bit of baptism of fire, I think, here in America.
I've got no idea, to be honest with you, what Gladbach's pace is. But I mean, if there's an event where things could get shaken up, where he's got a good chance of points, I'd say a sprint race is as good as any. Of course, we've got a fairly reasonable chance of rain here as well. So I see no reason why Gladbach can't pull off a good result, whether that's in the sprint or in the Grand Prix itself. We could end up seeing a few drivers out of position if we see a sprint, anything like a late safety car restart that we tend to see in League of Europe. I just want to say, though, briefly going back to what we about can anyone challenge Montana, just going through the lobby list, no one in there's every single person there. I think they can nick a second place, they can nick a third place, they can get a podium on if the stars align for them. There is no one there apart from Justas, who's not even racing tonight, and Connor, who I would say I would even put in the bracket of even being able to have a sniff of a win. That the stranglehold that Montana has on this field just it staggers me.
Yeah, it does stagger you. Indeed, staggers me as well, potentially. But we have already seen what he can do, of course, out on track. Let's have a look, though, at the track map in question. 5.5 kilometres, 3.4 miles, 20 turns, of course, awaiting our drivers out on track here at the Circuit of the Americas. 2 DRS zones, of course, one down the start finish, straight up the hill and towards turn number 1, and then on the run down and towards turn number 12 as well. Quite a bit of elevation change, especially in the first sector out of turn number 1. About an 80-metre downhill run on the roller coaster, as they can call it around here in Texas, and, of course, that is out of turn number 1 on the run down and towards turn number 2. But Killably, obviously, just getting to get into qualifying, one-shot qualifying, of course, first, and then going into the 10-lap sprint race. This is a track that can produce a lot of overtaking, and potentially we're going to see that tonight.
It is. You've got lots of overtaking opportunities. You've got turn 1, turn 11, 12, and then what immediately comes after that as well, 13 and 16 have such wide entries that there's so many lines you could take through there. They just invite people, particularly if you're of an aggressive disposition, to have a cheeky send up the inside or even around the outside and try and switch back underneath through that long right-hander of 17 and 18, the quadruple apex. So, yes, there are plenty of overtaking opportunities. I think we are shaping up for some very good racing tonight. Plenty of wheel-to-wheel opportunities. Not going to be quite the train we saw in the first half of that Imola race.
Yeah, definitely. So let's go on board then with Yildirim. He's coming out the final corner now on a driver's eye view, actually. If you run on board with his camera angle, across the line goes Yildirim, potentially a favourite for pole position if he can actually hook up the lap around here. We'll have to see what the Hassman can do. Up the hill and then towards the left-hander of turn number 1, and then through, of course, the right-hander down the hill in towards turn number 2, as he absolutely nails that apex. And then coming through into the S section, mirroring Maggots and Beckett's, also mirroring, of course, the Japan S section from 3, 4, 5, and then through the right-hander of turn number 6. They've got rid of the colour scheme on the right-hand side of the track there, and I actually have got rid of the UI as well, so I can't see what his first sector is like. But it's 25.5 in the first sector from Yildirim. Now coming out of turn number 9 on the run downhill into turn 10. Connor already at the session as well, so Connor maybe a favourite pole position is out, and he's starting at the moment from the back of the field. It's Montana, Rudy, Reserfi currently in the top 3. Yildirim about a half a second down, I think, in the first sector, now running down the hill, down this long back straight, of course, mirroring the straight in Korea, the straight in Delhi back in the day as well. As Yildirim now comes in towards the left-hander of turn number 12, absolutely nails that apex, literally nailing that with a 102.7 in the middle sector as well. And it's looking quite strong so far, coming through turns 13, 14, and then, of course, in towards the left-hander of turn 15, and then, of course, into Verstappen corner at 16, 17, and 18. Of course, very famously overtook Kimi Räikkönen off track, and therefore he finished outside of the podiums in 2018. Yildirim now coming through the left-hander of turn 19. The German looking quite quick, not as quick as the ABS merchant of Montana, currently out on top as he now comes through the final corner with his deployment all used. Yildirim to the line, 33.1, and he's half a second behind Montana, who sets pole position. Ruta there in second, Rudy there in third. Looking further down the field, Gary, interestingly, of course, out of Excel now into QVR. We'll get on to about Excel in just a second. But Yildirim in 5th position, a very good, strong qualifying session from him. But let's have a look at the full grid order and then analyse, of course, what happened there in qualifying. But it's Montana out on top, 3.5 tenths of a second on 1 lap pace. ABS merchant well and truly out. Ruta there in second, Rudy there in third, Gary there in fourth. Good performance from him, I think, in qualifying. Yildirim in 5th, Verstappen in 6th, Packer there in 7th, Dan there in 8th, Rocco in 9th, and Nico, who's replacing Lobakar tonight, rounding off the top 10. Let's comment. This is 11th, Euron in 12th, Jekyll 13th, Peas there in 14th. Only 14 drivers getting a valid lap time, and I think Peas had spun on his lap as well. Reservoir, Maledictus, Gladback, Izza, Falls of Brendan, and Connor. Connor was a legitimate retirement out in track. Disqualifications though for Reservoir, Maledictus, Gladback, Izza, and Forza Brendan. It is Montana out on top, Ruta second, Rudy in third. Not really surprised at the top three in qualifying, to be honest.
No, that was pretty par for the course, as you might expect. Couple of disappointments there. Obviously, Connor's the standout. Pease had a spin somewhere. Reservoir had a drama quite late in the lap. He was sitting nicely, I think, in around P6 or 5 until he invalidated. But yeah, Montana, like, I don't want to, you know, I've said this before, I don't want to blow that man's ego anymore. I mean, you run out of superlatives when it comes to a point. Wouter up there, I was expecting that from Wouter. I know he's been looking very quick in practice, one of the few people doing consistent 32s. But of course, that only sets the grid, we should neglect to mention, for the sprint. It doesn't set the grid for the Grand Prix. So they've got a precarious, treacherous, shall we say, 10 laps to navigate before they can hold on to those grid positions for the main event.
Yeah, definitely so. Indeed, we now wait, of course, for the lights to go out, and the lights are immediately not coming out because of the formation lap. I'm so used to obviously having the lights go out straight away nowadays, but we have got the formation lap, of course, which is good. And interestingly, well, I'm not surprised the majority of drivers going set of medium compounded tyres. Izza, though, down in 18th position. We spoke about this before we came live on the stream. Again, people might have caught this discussion. We were saying about the strategy calls, of course, and Izza, in the sprint race, going to set a soft compounded tyre first before switching on to a set of medium compounded tyres. I think you can make... Do you have to make a pit stop in the sprint race? I think you do.
No, there's no obligation to make a stop. It's just the case of if the tyres hang on. I mean, that decision makes sense for Izza. He's down in 18th. He's very far out of position. He'll get a good 3 or 4 laps. He should shoot up the field in the first lap or so, but then it's a case of those tyres hang on, because after 6 of laps they'll be starting to feel not just second hand, probably third or fourth hand. No surprise everyone else on the mediums, they will go comfortably to the end over the 10 laps, and you get 2 sets of mediums in a sprint event, so no one's compromised themselves too much for the race.
Yeah, which is good to see, obviously. No obligation for the pit stops to be made, which means, obviously, you'd imagine the set of mediums will get quite a way up. Izza potentially, I think he'll be looking at the top 10 in terms of potential on paper. I think he could get up to 10th position by the end of the first lap, if obviously stuff happens around him in terms of incidents, in terms of action, of course, out on track as well. Good evening, by the way, to everyone that is in terms of the stream. Good evening to Ivo. You're there in the comment section. I can see Jake Montana in the comment section as well. Jav saying he's looking forward to the Chilean Grand Prix. It is the Texan flag, unfortunately. Jav, not the Chilean Grand Prix. Might get there though one day, I think, in Formula 1, judged by how many races they're trying to add into the calendar in real life. Ben Spittle as well in the comment section saying, all our people, I think he might be a little bit smashed potentially of Aston Villa's 2-1 win earlier on from winning against Everton as well in the Premier League. Doing better than Man United at the minute, I can definitely say about that. But Montana, Rudy top 3, and I'm going to come across to you, Jake. Who's your top 3?
Montana, Wouter, Gary.
Montana, Ruta, Gary. Interestingly, is there being disqualified from the session. I think that's just obviously him pitting there onto his grid slot. The 5 red lights are now coming out here in America. We're going to have to go on board with Ruta for this one. And it is... Lights down, away we go in the sprint race, and Montana gets a very good start, but actually Wooter's better off the start, and he's going to sail on by, down the straight in towards turn number 1. Wooter there on the inside line, Montana there on the outside line, and Montana has lost the lead of the race, but gets a switch back to perfection out of turn number 1. He's now side by side with him further down the field. The Alpine of commentators, I think, running wide there in the background, but Wooter leads the way. Montana in second, Rudy in third. Montana got wheel spin off the start, that's why he's down in second position. Everyone, I think, is going clean through safely. Dan has lost a few positions further down the field, along with J. Cole, who's fighting out in the Red Bull. Nico's dropped down to 19th as well, but Ruta gets a very good start and he leads away by 2.5 tenths. He had a snap of oversteer coming out of turn number 9 though, on the run down in towards turn 11 for the first time in the sprint race, and it's Ruta that leads the way. Montana in second, Rudy in third. Very strong start by Ruta, got the launch of Montana, who seems all over the place coming out of turn 11 there.
Shocking start for Nico. He wouldn't get away. We had a bit of contact almost between Dan and Jerome heading to turn 2. We've got Pease and Rocco at it. Rocco's not had the best of starts. He's down to P10. I think Pease is going to make this into the braking zone of turn 12, although is Rocco going to try and hold this around the outside? He's not on this occasion. Izat's made a place up on Brendan there, and we've got Gladbach and Connor side by side through 12 into 13. This is what I was on about, where you can get those switchbacks. Connor's going to put a squeeze on Gladbach on the apex there, just hanging on the inside. He's got the preferable line for turn 15, and I think Connor's made that one. But a great first lap from Wouter, and as you say, Montana struggling a little bit in these opening stages.
And this is going side by side with J. Cole, trying to go around the outside of turn 18 of Verstappen. Corner doesn't manage to get the move done, though, and Izza there. In 15th, and he has a snap of oversteer. How on earth he's recovered that is absolutely beyond me. And that is a set of soft compounded tyres well and truly not working already for Izza. But he's on the back of Resify, trying to take that place back, obviously, after that mistake. And do you know what? He might launch one in towards turn number 1. The Ferrari on the back of the Williams getting the job done. The Resify jumps a little bit too wide there. No stop strategy is predicted. Thanks, Codemasters, for that one. I think we already knew that. Izza there in 16, Resify in 17. In terms of the early position gains, Wouter obviously gaining 1 position off the start, along with Yilbrim. Dan has already picked up a 3-second penalty, but most positions gained. Pease has gained 5, Maledictus has gained 4, and Forza Brendan has gained 4 as well. Carmentus, respectively, has gained 3 in top of that as well. But Wouter leads the way, Montana second, Rudy there in third. Of course, DRS will be enabled next lap around. I think everyone is now settling down in terms of the strides. However, the Aston Martins are going side by side, Connor and Nico.
Nice little bit of argy-bargy between the two Astons. They had it coming into the last corner as well.
Montana down the inside line at turn number 12. Sorry to cut you off. And he goes around the outside now through turn number 13. The AlphaTauri and the Ferrari side by side. I wasn't really predicting this move to be happening this lap around, but Montana retakes the lead of the race from Wouter. Good stuff there.
Probably feel me wincing when I yelled no. It seemed like it was going to be very late for Montana. Just as I cut towards it, he's hung on nicely though. But yeah, there was a bit of a battle between the two Astons on the last corner of the last lap. They nearly took each other out as they were trying to navigate Izat's stricken recovering Ferrari. What a move from Montana, but he's got a 3/10 second lead. And of course this lap, DRS in effect as well. He's not managed to break Wouter through sector 3. So this is going to be a bit of a challenge for Montana, I think, to keep this place into turn 12 on lap 3 here. He goes a little deep into turn 1 for good measure.
Yeah, definitely so. Connor again making positions further down the field. He's side by side with Resify in towards turn number 1 as well. 17th and 18th position change. So Connor through and he's into 17th. Resify down in 18th. Of course, they're trying to qualify as much as possible in terms of the actual grid positions for this race, for the main feature race, of course, that is going to come. Not sure if we need a lobby restart, potentially. I think it's now built into the game, so I think it might just follow on from each other out on track. Well, Montana leading the way. He's now applying the pressure to Wouter there in second, and Wouter there is 6.5 tenths away from Montana. Rudy there in third, Yilbrim in fourth, Gary in fifth. Gary's got very strong pace so far, the Irishman in fifth, and he's dropped Verstappen out of the second range. Verstappen does not have DRS this time around, so he's going to come under pressure from Packer, the American, in behind, is absolutely flying onto the back of him, down the straight in towards turn number 12, but he's not going to get the move done. I think Maledictus, though, might on the back of your own, getting very close in towards turn number 12 as well, but it's not quite close enough indeed, and everyone, I think, remain as they are. So Montana leads the way, Wouter there in second, Rudy there in third, and Wouter there in second, applying the pressure once again to Montana. Wouter, Wouter, same name, but Rudy now dropping out of DRS range to the front two.
First two put a big push on that lap, which is what spurted them away. Montana's done a load of ERS. He's 25% down on what Wouter has right now, nearly 30%. Rudy is down to 20%, just trying to hang on, but Montana's pace, his ERS in combination with Wouter's DRS, has left Rudy in the dust a little bit, and that's going to leave, as you can see, Rudy is derating there towards turn 1. He's run out of ERS completely now, and that's going to leave him in the clutches of Jewelry and Gary, although Gary himself is only just hanging on. We've got a couple of trains here. Verstappen is leading quite a sizable one, as is Rocco and Jerome, the two Mercedes there, clinging to a point for Rocco, of course, the foot race in the top 10.
Yeah, definitely know that in terms of the constructors as well. Mercedes team have not got the strongest start to the constructors season at the moment. Wouter there a bit quicker than Montana, coming out of turn number 9 and 10 in towards turn 11, and he's gained with 58% of ERS currently has Wouter, and Montana there 5 tenths in front just in terms of the action. Is Wouter going to potentially now have a launch at Montana running towards turn number 12? The Ferrari gaining the upper hand on the run towards turn number 12. But he's not going to be quite close enough, and the haze, I think, will give it away, potentially, of him not attempting to move. Packer, though, does on Verstappen, and that is Pease down the inside of Commentator's. Very late on the brakes in behind there as well. Commentator still sweeps back through, and he remains in P8. Pease there in 9th for Packer. The other Alpine through, and he's into 6th position. Nice move there by the American. Verstappen there in 7th. Commentator's there in 8th. But Wouter now applying a lot of pressure to Montana. Montana's just sitting back, maybe forcing Wouter now into a bit of full censored, and that is going to potentially bring Rudy back into play. He's only 1.2 seconds off. 1.2 seconds is not really the best tyre. The best tyre. Rudy is not obviously in 3rd position. He is in 3rd position. I'm messing up. I don't know what I'm saying, to be honest. Montana leads the way. Wouter there in 2nd. Rudy there in 3rd. I don't know what I'm saying. Jake, continue on.
Montana very scruffy exit out of the final turn 20 there, left himself very vulnerable to Wout, who didn't quite fancy the move into turn 1 and 2. Absolute gladiator battle that was into turn 12 between Car Mentalist and Pease. Those two not the fondest of friends. We've got a yellow flag there, and who is gone? That's just Resify at the back. But yeah, no love lost between Car Mentalist and Pease after the way Imola ended last week. Of course, Pease picking up a 5-second penalty in the steward's room for his collision with Car Mentalist, and then the two of them came to blows just a day later in TRC at Japan. So we nearly saw round 3 there. I think Car Mentalist will be eager to dispatch QVR staff as quickly as he can. Let's have a look at Wouter towards the back of Montana there. He's gaining massively. Is this going to be time for an overtake? No, Wouter sensibly with that D1 brain, not looking to make a move, but Lou is looking to make a move. It's XL Gary, not XL Gary. It's QVR Gary up into 4th place past Jewelbury in there to turn 12. That was nice stuff. Rocco with a penalty. I saw him have a massive cut through the S's last lap. I'm surprised we've not seen more of those popping up, but that's been a tasty little lap there. But I think Wouter's just biding his time for the last couple of laps or so. Or maybe he wants to start 2nd, who knows?
No, I think honestly he's going to apply the pressure in the final 2 laps of the race. I think he just wants to sit him behind, let Montana waste a bit of VRS, and then obviously he can gain in terms of that strategy call towards the end of the race here in the sprint. Lap 6 out of 10 beginning. Montana leads the way from Wouter there in 2nd, 4.5 cents the gap in between them. Really just not has the pace at this moment in time. By the way, we saw a move from Pease. He had a Pease of the action on Car Mentalist. He got through, and he's into P8 as well. And J. Collar's on the back of Dan. Potentially, of course, former XL teammates. Of course, XL disbanding during the week. And of course, it is a very sad time for all of us here in LOE. Minutes of silence, I think, might be held between the sprint race and the feature race. Of course, XL, an absolutely fantastic team. I think commitments elsewhere, though, is obviously paying out, and that is why, obviously, drivers have alluded to going to QVR, like yourself, Mr. Killer Blue.
I have no comment, but I hope QVR do very well in any team events. In League of Europe, I am impartial, as always. Let's have a look at this little, well, it was a Verstappen train, wasn't it? But Packer done a fabulous job here. He's dragged himself into DRS range of Jewelbury, and this is closing up quite nicely. We've got a little Gary train instead. Packer takes a big cut at turn 12, to escape a penalty there. This Car Mentalist is, I think, sniffing around for some seconds with Pease, a bit of revenge here. Look, got very close through the apex, but the trouble with these corners is you've got to be so close on traction to have any kind of send onto the back of the car ahead, and I can see Gladbach and Nico are very close there into turn 16.
Yeah, it was. Nico dived on the inside of turn number 12. Gladbach tried to go for the outside line through turn number 13, didn't, and Nico got that position. So Nico through, and he's into 18th. Gladbach there in 19th, doing a very good job. Currently in a relegation fight, unfortunately, Gladbach in 19th. Montana, though, leads the way. Wouter there in 2nd, Rudy there in 3rd, Gary there in 4th. Gary just simply does not have the pace compared to Rudy. Rudy, to be fair, is sticking with Wouter and Montana. Hasn't lost, hasn't hemorrhaged time whatsoever. And he's there in 3rd, still 1.3 seconds off. These two fight in front. Rudy there might be there to pick up the pieces in terms of, obviously, this battle between the front two out on track. Rudy, though, there in 3rd, 1.2 seconds off the pace. Gary there in 4th. Everything are now spawning, I think, further down. But as you say, we've got a few trains out on track. Gary train, Rocco train, and also the Nico train as well for 18th and 19th potentially. But here comes Wouter on the back of Montana. He's not going to sit back this time around, surely. He's already side by side with him halfway down the straight. Montana forced him to the left-hand side of the track, but it's no obligation, and the Ferrari is through, and he's into the lead of the race, and Montana tries to lunge it in towards turn number 12. He thought about it, but he didn't, and now Wouter leads the way. Montana in second, Rudy in third, and further down the field, Pease again on the back of Verstappen, potentially around the outside of turn 13. The Hassman and the Alfa Romeo going side by side. I think Rocco as well nearly lost the position to Maledictus further down the field, and now Pease is still side by side with Verstappen coming through turn number 15. Tries to go all the way around the outside on the long way around. He's going to be on the inside line for Verstappen corner at 16, 17, and 18. Do you know what? If he could pull this off, this would be a masterful move from the Hassman. He should get the job done. Verstappen's going to be hung out to dry now. Beautiful move by Pease. Slight bit of contact, I think, there. But Pease, he's into 7th. Verstappen into 8th. Phenomenal battle between them both. Great respect. And Pease manages to get P7.
That was motor racing sex between Pease and Verstappen there. That was incredible stuff from both. Tremendous respect given, but they were both. No one wanted to give up that place. Then we've got Connor passing Izat there on the late into turn 1, and Connor just thinks ahead. Those soft tyres not working out with Izat. I imagine they are starting to scream a little bit now. You can see the visible degradation on the tyre that comes in as they roll around lap after lap, and he's in the clutches of Forza Brendan now as well. The DRS train just saving Izat a little bit, I think. Montana isn't hanging as close to Wouter up front as I expected, just to change topic. That is, I'm a little surprised at a very sluggish line through turn 11 as well. Poor exit is Connor's picked up another place. That's a bizarre place to pass into turn 10. I can only assume there Dan made some kind of boo-boo on the exit of turn 9, because that's not your usual overtaking gaff. And here comes Carmentless at the back of Verstappen towards turn 12. Verstappen comes off the inside line, defending fresh air a little bit there. That might compromise the 13. But I think he's got just enough advantage to hold off Carmentless and Maledictus. And J. Collar now going wheel to wheel, tyre face to tyre face into 13. Quickly becomes 14. Maledictus is going to have the inside line for that lunge into 15 and 16 that so many drivers love in league racing here. And here goes Maledictus. He's going to hang it. Is he up the inside? That is fabulous. We're going to see a repeat of this Pease and Verstappen battle from last lap. We're not, but Maledictus sees that off nicely, and Connor nearly nabbing another couple of places there. And was that Pease passing Packer in the process as well?
Yeah, Pease past Packer. I think Packer made a mistake. There's a yellow flag in sector 3 as well. And that is, Gladbach, unfortunately, that is round. So Gladbach there, round the German in at 20th position, currently getting the wooden spoon, and currently being relegated from Division 1 at this stage in the sprint race. Right though leads the way. Montana there in second, Rudy there in third. The front two now beginning to pull away from Rudy, who just simply does not have the pace on those set of medium compounded tyres. Isn't, I think, as fun as well coming through turn number 1. Those softs are completely done. Wrong strategy call, and I think as he looks back, he potentially could go hard softs towards the end of the race, maybe in terms of one-stop strategy. But Wouter there leading the way. Montana there in second. Again, Montana a bit sluggish coming out of turn number 11. And on the run down the straight, he's not going to be close enough. I wonder if he's just letting Wouter potentially get this race win here, because we saw how sluggish Montana was off the start in terms of his wheel spin. He ends up in P1 once again. He repeats that in the in the feature race. Wouter will be there like a hawk lashing towards turn 1 again. As Carmentless side by side with Verstappen.
He will, yeah. We've got Carmentless up the inside into turn 12. Goes a little deep, but I don't think Verstappen has the tyres to fight that one back. Yeah, we saw it at Imola last week, didn't we, as well, on the safety car restart right at the end on those into tyres. Carmentless scampered off in the end, but on the initial restart, Montana just couldn't get the power down coming out of Ravazza 2, and so it seemed today that Montana's just having a few scruffy moments in those traction zones that are just causing those moments to slip away from him. Last corner, last lap, turn 11 a couple of times as well, as the top 5 very much strung out. Pease is absolutely maximised his sprint race, I think, up 8 places, so made the most, capitalised from that shoddy qualifying where he had a spin or a drama somewhere through 11 seconds off the pace. But we're on to the last lap, James. I have to say, this has been, for D1 standards, for a sprint race, I think I feared a train, but this has been absolutely enthralling from start to finish.
Can we have a sprint race all the time for every single race for the rest of the season? Because this has been really, really good. To commentate on, maybe the same could be coming in the feature race there as well. Well, Montana sets his sights on Wouter potentially. He obviously wrapped up the championship in FRL around here against Tom Roberts, and now he's going to try and steam once again. He came from this far back this time around as well in FRL in that championship fight. And Montana now with only 10% of ERS. He's 4.5 tenths away, still gaining the Alpha Tower, but he's not going to be close enough for a lunging towards turn number 12. And Muta still hangs on to the lead of the race. Montana there in second, Rudy there in third, and now Pease, Packer are all in a big DRS train running down towards turn number 12 as well. They're getting very, very close indeed. Packer there on the inside line tries to get the job done, but he doesn't. And now J. Cole, Dan, Maledictus all in a private battle as well. And Connor has recovered very well as well from his disappointing qualifying session. He's up into 12, passing J. Cole, but Wouter now through the final couple of corners, pretty much sealed, you've got to say, from the actual start. Montana wheel spun up the start. Wouter now, round the final corner, Montana just goes for lunch. Through the final corner, Wouter goes to the line, wins the sprint race in America. Montana there in second, Rudy there in third. Very, very disappointing, I think, maybe in terms of his pace. Gary there in fourth, Gilbert, Pease, Packer, Commentated, Verstappen and Neuron, all the top 10 finishers. Connor's getting very close to Rocco coming across the line, but again, in terms of that, there's a huge accident coming across the line there as well. AI clearly not feeling the need to crash into each other. Gladbach there around the final corner. He finishes 19th after, of course, Izza's spin, and Izza around the final corner on that set of soft compounded tyres. Wishful thinking, but in the end, really didn't work. And the Ferrari there, the Singaporean, down in 20th position out on track. But that is the sprint race done for the United States Grand Prix. The feature race to come very soon, and it's Relentless Pease who picks up the driver of the day from the sprint race. But once again, to the top step of the podium, this time around, it is Wouter. And of course, in terms of the actual scrolling, it is the top 10 that get picked up points. So add Verstappen and Neuron, add 2 more points added on to Wouter and to Montana and to the rest of the field, and then you get your full grid order. It's Wouter out on top in the sprint race, Montana in second, Rudy there in third, Gary in fourth, from Yildirim in fifth, Pease in sixth, and Packer there in seventh. Comments list in 8th, Verstappen and Neuron ran off the top 10, so they pick up points as well. Connor in the end, a good shot from him in 11th. Look forward to see what he can do, of course, in the race. Jake Hull in 12th, Maledictus, Rocco falls of Brendan top 15, Nico, Dan, Rezify, Gladbach, it is at the top 20, and they all actually finished. The top 20 all finished, which is really good. Wouter out on top, Montana in second, Rudy there in third, and we now wait, of course, for the sprint race to come.
That was a thrilling sprint race and a very clean one as well. Contrasting fortunes for Ferraris. They bookend the field. Wouter wins. He's at last. I have to say, I think when Wouter goes to do his laundry tonight, when he'll have to check his pockets for an NSX Montana that's in there somewhere, because he seemed to have that AlphaTauri covered off from the moment he recovered the lead of that race he lost earlier on. So fabulous drive from Montana. Shout outs to Gary as well. Pease, I agree with that driver of the day shout from the game. That was a barnstorming charge through the field. Mentalist and Packer had very strong races as well. Rocco, I'm not sure what happened to Rocco. Rocco was 10th for a lot of that race and then just faded to 14th. Unlucky for Nico, he lost a few places. Same goes for Eon Dan as well, who had the pair of them had shoddy first laps, and Connor regained a lot of places. Really, it has shaped out quite nicely. With the order from qualifying has been shaken up, but not necessarily where the cream has risen. We've seen it go both ways. So this is going to be very intriguing, and I think we're going to see a fair mix of tyre choices as well, whether it's hards or mediums to start. If anyone goes softs, I won't call them mad, but it's an interesting call.
Yeah, it'll be an interesting call, definitely. I think, obviously, if drivers were to do that, going onto that set of soft compounded tyres, I mean, especially so, because Izza went on the set of soft compounded tyres, they hardly even lasted 3 or 4 laps, and then look at how he struggled in the remainder of that race as well. Kira there in the comments section. Hope I got the pronunciation right, by the way. Montana surprisingly slow, especially at that hairpin. Yeah, totally agreed, to be honest. He was slow at the hairpin, but I think it's honestly to try and maximise the run on the exit of the corner. And it's really important, of course, because if you've got a downforce setup around here, it will maximise in terms of the downforce coming off. Basically, when you apply the throttle, you aim to get a response of the car. If you don't, you're probably going to end up spinning into a wall like I normally do on time trial. But we better get going, of course, filling a formation lap here in the feature race. I think Connor, by the way, left the session. He's down there in 11th position, so hopefully he might be able to rejoin. Nobody, luckily, to your non-surprise, Jake, is going for set of soft compounded tyres. Interesting mix, though. We've got Wouter on a set of hards, Montana on a set of mediums in the front row of the grid, then Rudy on a set of hards, Gary on a set of mediums, Connor, by the way, is rejoined. Yilbream and Peas on alternate strategies, mediums and hards, Packer and Commentated mediums and hards, Verstappen and your own mediums and hards. Then we've got a string of medium runners, Connor, J. Colin, Maledictus, Rockabet on a set of hards, and Forza Brennan, Nico, Dan on a set of mediums, Reservoir on a set of hards, Gladback on a set of mediums, and Izza learning from a mistake, going set of hards, potentially going set of soft compound tires towards the end of the race. Front row of the grid, though, I would have expected Wouter, if you want to try and cover off Montana in towards turn number 1, have the medium compound tires on. Montana was slow off the start. Has he thought about that, potentially? Has he factored that in his calculations coming into this race?
I feel like it's a missed opportunity for Wouter. The mediums are staggeringly quicker over the first 2 laps. And you'll see that if Montana gets in the lead, he'll gap Wouter by about 2-3 seconds over the first 5 laps or so. I thought my prediction was going to be that the first 2 rows would go on mediums, then try and scamper away and gap the hard runners a little bit, and then hope that they had enough in pocket come the end of the race. The hards take a while to come in, but they do get quicker through the stint. The mediums tend to go off. For the medium runners, we're looking for a pit stop around lap 9 to 12, more likely in the middle of that 10 and 11. The hards, I'm not quite sure how long they're going to take them. It depends if, like you say, with Izzat, they might fancy going on softs at the end, or if they go for mediums. But the undercut here is massive. Even on a fresh set of hards versus an old set of hards, you're over a second a lap quicker. So getting your pit stop lap absolutely right is going to be essential here. And I'm intrigued because I think Montana is going to get into the lead into turn one. He knows he has to, and then I think he's going to run away. But it should come towards Wouter later on. It's finely poised.
It is finally poised indeed, and we're about to get going, of course, out on track. J. Cole has missed his pit stop. I saw that on the camera angle, which is unfortunate for him. He overstepped the mark, I think, by about half a second, potentially, in terms of that formation lap. Him joining onto the grid. We're just waiting on Connor's AI to rejoin, and then we'll be getting going, of course, first time, hopefully, for the feature race here in the United States, here in Austin, Texas, of course, Miami in next week. But Wouter out on top, Montana alongside him, all 5 red lights are coming on, and it is lights out and away we go in the feature race, and Wouter gets a very good stop. Montana off the start is so strong, and he's going to have the run in towards turn number 1, potentially on the back. He's going to have to think about going around the outside here, though. Wouter leads the way through turn number 1, Montana in second, Yilbream in third, 3 wide in the background. Rudy, Peas, and Gary all getting chopped up, and there's a spinner in the background. That is an Aston Martin of Connor and Maledictus, who are around. Connor, I think, has rejoined maybe in the middle of the pack, and that might potentially, of course, a big incident there. Also dropping down the field is Dan, who's lost a few positions, but Wouter leads the way. Montana there in second, Yilbream there in third. Wouter actually strong off the start. Montana, I thought, would have got the launch. Looked like on the camera angle we had, it looked like he got the launch. It didn't. Yilbream there in third. Peas up to fourth there as well. Very good start from the Haas boys. But Wouter leading the way for Montana in second, and Connor once again has spun. And I think actually stuck out on track, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, he's got back going again. But Montana now pressurising Wouter on the run down the hill. In towards turn number 12. This will be a golden opportunity to try and take the race lead on lap 1. And Montana is side by side. The AlphaTauri against the Ferrari. Too deep on the brakes potentially for Montana. But he absolutely sends it. Beautiful move by Montana. Takes the lead of the race like taking candy from a baby.
Had to make that move to make his strategy work, and he's done it in good time, although he'll be frustrated. He had to sit for half a lap, if I know Montana, behind that Ferrari, and he had to use some ERS in the process. Gary passed all side by side with Rudy out of turn 16. That is audacious to try. He couldn't quite make the move stick, and now the car's slipping wide. It's washing across the track. Packer's having a look towards turn 19, sorry. And we've got yellow flag in the background. That is Reservoir has gone in the middle of turn 17 and 18. Gary's had another poor first lap and nearly loses it again. And here comes Packer down the outside. He's got some ERS on as the American at his native track. And I think he's going to try and send this down the outside. He can sit in Rudy's slipstream as well, which is lined up nicely for Packer. Around the outside, Gary's going to put a little squeeze on, but Packer's got the higher line. He can carry more speed, and he's through. And that was a costly sector for Gary.
It was indeed. He's down into 7. Commentated, by the way, into the pit lane. Clearly he's got damage on that car, so he's in for sort of softs. Maledictus also in. I think he might be going maybe hards towards the end of the race as well. And I imagine Connor will be back into the pit lane as well. In fact, he is, I think, coming through the final corner. Just looking at the minimum map. Yeah, Connor's sped in the pit lane. That's going to be him retiring out the race. So unfortunate. He got caught up in a collision with Maledictus. maybe blaming the ghosting system because, of course, he had to rejoin the session, had to take control of his car. He wasn't at the back of the field, so therefore it's caused a bit of carnage there. And obviously, you've got to wait, I think, until everyone else is through before you take control of your car. No matter how much you want to try and do it, you've got to be patient sometimes. Gladbach, though, not being patient on the back of Rocco, down the inside and towards turn 14. Beautiful move on the brakes. The Alfa Romeo, I think Mercedes broke very early compared to the actual braking point for that corner, but Gladbach through, and he's into 14th. Oh, I think he's glad to be back. He's through and he's into 14th.
Rocco's not having a particularly happy day today, has to be said, and neither is Rudy right now. He's looking a solid P3 in the sprint, but he's slipped down to 5th, 1.7 seconds off the back of P's. Hard tyres not working as well for him as they have for, well, P's just ahead of him, who is, I have to say, having an amazing race here, P's. From, was it 14th on the grid in the sprint, now P4 on lap 3 of the Grand Prix, and hanging on to the back of Jewel Room as well on much worse tyres. As I said, as I alluded to, Montana is now breaking that DRS range on the medium, so he needs to get the hammer down. But Pease is showing some immense pace here. He's gapping Rudy. He's hanging to the back of Jewel Green, the tree, and it's on shot. He's on course for another podium here. As Gary's trying to get back past Packer, following it just a couple of tenths there. But the trouble with this opening section is it's so snaky and twisty. It's single file. There's nothing you can do but hope for a mistake and just try and sit in the DRS until you get to here, turn 11.
Yeah, he's running the back, actually, Gary, of Packer. Rudy is the one that's causing this big old train all the way down, actually, to Dan in 16th position. So we've got a good 11-12 car train potentially here, with Rudy obviously leading the way. He has been gapped by Pease. He's on the back of Yildirim, and the Hasses are looking quite strong so far. I don't think anybody is close enough to remove. There's a yellow flag in sector 2, and that's a reservoir round at turn 11. So reservoir round once again at turn 11. I think he's avoided the barrier potentially. We'll have a look on his right side end plate if there was any damage on that car, and indeed there is. So, indeed there is.
Jewelry's made a big mistake, sorry, James, out of turn 16, and Pease is going to send this around the outside, and Jewelry actually lets his teammate go, though, sensibly. He just got out of the throttle, but he lit the tyres up, dramatically so, and that was nearly an airplane crash, but he just about held on to it, but it's cost him a position.
I'm honestly glad you caught that, because I was trying to flip through and see what happened there, but all we saw was Pease going past Yildirim, so 3 needs into 3rd. Yildirim led down to 4th, but remember, Yildirim's on the quicker tyre, theoretically out on track. He's on that side of mediums, Pease there on that side of hard, so potentially Yildirim's going to be let back through. If he feels he's got the pace, obviously, compared to his teammates ahead. What that has done, though, is bring Rudy back into play. He was 1.5 seconds off, and it's now down to a second. So that has cost him clearly 6 or 7 tenths per second, that Yildirim mistake. And now Rudy, within DRS, has now got into that train, and now it's 3rd all the way downwards, basically. That has got a train with Yildirim obviously struggling on that set of medium compounded tyres. In fact, it's 4th all the way downwards to 16th as Reservoir, of course, has spun. He's into the pit lane. Commentated, by the way, came in for another pit stop, so I'm not sure if he had no human-induced error in terms of his tyre choices. Rudy, though, on the back of Yildirim, probably thinking to himself, well, you were only, like, ahead, what, half a minute ago, and now I'm right on the back of you, running down the straight in towards turn number 12. He's not going to get the move done. Gary, though, on the back of Packer, looking quite close as well. Again, I don't think he's going to get the move done, though, in the AlphaTauri. Maledictus, by the way, has rejoined, which is good to see. And nothing actually happening out on track so far. Montana, though, leads the way. 2 seconds the gap. White's there in 2nd. P's there in 3rd. And it's looking very easy sailing so far for Montana in the front.
Yeah, it is. He's checked out a little bit. 2 seconds, not as much as I thought he would. So this could well come back towards Wouter in the second half of the race. God, I hope it does. But so we can have a fight for a win for a change. But I'm wondering if Jewelrim's got some damage. He's either got some damage or he's running very high tyre pressures because he's possibly suffering from overheating, or let's say he's got some damage because his pace is nowhere near what it should be. He's considerably slower than Pease on what should be, still at this point, better tyres. And Packer pushing Rudy through turn 1 there.
Yeah, very close. He tried to go on the inside line, and then he had to droop to the outside line. Rudy, to be fair, defended. If you saw Formula E a bit earlier on, you saw Eduardo Mortara defend hard. That was basically Rudy's defence right there, but keeping it within the limits compared to Mortara, where he picked up that 5-second penalty a little bit earlier on in real life. Packer, though, is hounding the back of the Williams. The American all over the back of the Dutchman, and the Dutchman for Talent Factory, of course, who have been in their fair share of controversy in the past week. If anybody has seen League Racing News, I think they deleted their post though, so I'm not sure if that was fake news or not. But Packer, in the meantime, is on the back of Rudy, 5th and 6th position. Reservoirs retired from the race, and now look at Packer, brilliant run out of turn 11, down the straight towards turn number 12, and do you know what? He might even get 2 here because he's closing in on Yulbrim very, very quickly indeed. But Packer through, and he's into 5th position. Rudy's not going to put with a stone defence there, and Packer through, and he's into 5th, and the American coming alive in his home track.
He absolutely is, isn't he? He's got a good shot at top 4 here, because I'll tell you what, I am now 99.9% convinced Gilbrim's got damage. He's got no ERS. His tyres should still be good. You look at the train, he is hoarding behind him. Yeah, Gilbrim's got some big damage. He's losing a lot of time to P's ahead of him, and that is music to, as Gary goes very wide there at the exit at turn 18. That is music to those ahead of them, because they're able to fully just run away there. Penalty for Rocco. Is that our 2nd of the race so far? The yellow flag is just Reservoir's car retiring, so it's all settled down a little bit.
And here's Packer.
Gilbrim. Yeah, Gilbrim is the cork in the bottle, and there goes Packer into turn 1, and I think we're going to see Rudy, Gary, Verstappen, Jerome follow through very quickly. Oh, Gary's round, Gary's round.
Gary is round, coming out of turn number 1. I'm not sure if he got caught in a bit of a collision there, maybe with Verstappen or Jeroen. He was certainly in front of that. Jeroen there down in 8th position, Gary there down in 14th now as a result. Rudy there in 6th position, Verstappen there in 7th, Jeroen there in 8th position. I've just seen, I was speaking about Talent Factory about 30 seconds ago, Packer's major moment coming out of turn number 9. Just seen something from the Shazoo Racing Championship organisers. It'll come out eventually, but I'm obviously commentator there, so I may as well try and bring it up on stream now. Talent Factory might not compete in the next event, so that might potentially have an effect on them, and that's because of using drivers that are not allowed to be in the event. As Rudy, speaking of Talent Factory, is doing his into 5th position. We're wasting that in the moment, but Rudy there in 5th. Yulbrim there in 6th. Verstappen, Jeroen, and Forza Brendan 7th, 8th, and 9th position as well. Montana though leads the way, 2.6 seconds over Wuta. P's there in 3rd, Packer in 4th, Rudy there in 5th. Yulbrim there in 6th, and it's Verstappen, Jeroen, Forza Brendan, Nico top 10, J. Cole, Izza, Gladbach, Gary, and Rocco top 15. Dan, who's actually lashed back onto the train there in 16th, Commentus all the way down in 17th, and Maledictus in 18th. They both really need a safety car at this point. Myself and Jake and T, of course, take you through the action. I think that might be the poshest pronunciation of your name that I think I've ever heard.
Yeah, I was just about to say, Gilbrim needs to pit, and he does, because that damage was not sustainable for the Haasman. And as you say, it brought people like Dan, Rocco back into play at the back, and I'll watch on board, but I think this is going to be a wing change.
Oh, and,
Gary!
Gary down the inside of Gladbach, knocking in the move done. Gladbach got the up and under and got the move done around the outside of turn 12, so holds on to the position at turn 1, but holds on to position for 12.
No wing change for Gilbrim, so there's my theory shot in the water. I can only assume he's running his tyre pressures really high, that he's got chronic overheating, or he's just really slow, because there is no explanation for Gilbrim's pace in the first 7 laps of this race. He's been shocking, to put it mildly, compared to those around him. But yeah, good battle in there between Gary and Gladbach. Gary will be kicking it for something like that. I hope it was contact for his sake, because then he's at least got someone to blame.
Yeah, I think honestly it might have been a bit of contact model. Verstappen was on the back of him, I think. Forza Brendan, by the way, on the back of Jeroen. Yeah, down the inside, in towards turn number 12. Brendan gets the job done. He's into 7th. Jeroen there in 8th. Oh, a bit sideways though, Brendan. He's now got a real cork in the bottle here. He could fall out of DRS range to Verstappen if he's not careful. And the Irishman now under significant pressure from Jeroen, and Nico in behind as well. Of course, replacing the car here tonight. He's there in 9th position, doing a good job. In terms of the early position gains, by the way, we are now a quarter of the way through distance. Brendan has gained 8. Izza has gained 9, Gladbach has gained 7, so big position gains from there. Yilbrim, Commentus and Maledictus have all lost positions, but of course, safety car comes out, that could obviously have a really good effect for them, as I think that is Gladbach into the pit lane. It is indeed the Alfa Romeo into the pit lane early. Again, for a set of medium compounded tyres pitting in, Yilbrim obviously went hard. So my theory of thinking mediums can go to around lap 12, lap 13, that seems shot as well.
Yeah, it's earlier than expected. My only thinking is that people are suffering with overheating. The overheating does come towards you a little more at the end of the stint, because the tyre starts to degrade, you lose speed, you understeer a bit more, so you're having to work the tyre harder. You do get a bit more overheating. And I think we're going to start to see that with Montana, with his degradation, that Wouter is just keeping that gap stable now at around 2.9. The top before, are very strung out. But Packer and Brendan, they're giving an exercise in how to maximise your tyre choice at the start of this race, because they have made the big sort of gains they needed to get out of that medium tyre to make a medium hard strategy work for them. I'm intrigued to see how this comes towards people like Rudy and Jerome, even in the back end of this race, because Rudy is hanging with Packer very well still on those hard tyres. I'll have a look at Jawbream's gap to the leader, unless he's got damage he didn't fix. But yeah, his pace is just one of those, a puzzle in this race. It's confounding me a little bit. I know I'm fixated on it, but I'm confused where it's gone.
Yeah, he's got 30 seconds, basically, to Montana, so that's the gap to the leader. Pit stop around here was around 25 seconds, I think, so in that fight, Gilbin was going to be about 5 seconds, you would imagine, behind the leader. Of course, he's now on quicker tyres, so potentially we're going to see him now come back alive on that sort of hard compounded tyre. Of course, stints are very key on this game. You've overheated your tyres in the mediums, you can now work it back on that sort of hard. And Gilbin, for the moment, has only caught about a tenth of a second, roughly compared to even Dan. So that is him. I think, just in terms of pace, absolutely struggling like anything out on track. But through the final corner, he gains 0.2 of a second. So Yildirim now getting the pace. He was up on his personal best there. 37.2, though. His personal best. I'm not sure what the personal bests are of everyone else out on track, but I know Montana's in the 36s. So that means Yildirim's got to find a bit more time there in 15th position at this moment in time. Montana leads the way. Woods in second, Pease in third. Packer there in fourth, Rudy there in fifth, and then Verstappen, Brendan, Jeroen, Nico, and J. Cole ran off the top 10. Is a Gary, Rocco, Dan all on the train with Yildirim there down in 15th. Gladback, Commenters, and Maledictus so far. Looking through the field, nothing really much happening. Brendan on the back of Verstappen could get quite close in towards turn number 12, but I think he's too far back. The Irishman on the back of the Dutchman, in fact, he's using so much ERS, he's actually ran out of it down the straight in towards turn number 12, and the McLaren not close enough to the back of the Alfa Romeo for now.
Feels like Verstappen in these situations, he'll get overtaken, he'll lose places, then somehow he'll always pop up in P7 or 8 at the end of the race. Man, can't get rid of him. He's like a little cockroach in Division 1 is Verstappen. But he's having a solid race here on the medium tyres. He's like Packer, he's doing a good job at making the gains on the first stint come the second stint, where he'll be on the less preferable tyre, because Verstappen comes into the pits actually there, because those fresh mediums at the end versus the older hard, which the likes of Verstappen and Montana will be on, will have a mammoth advantage for the first couple of laps. Rocco's in as well. Oh, sorry, that's Gary in as well. I'm not surprised. Lap 10 is around where they start to go. It just depends if you feel you can stretch them, if you've got the pace in the tyre. Montana has just about. The gap's still holding at 3.0 there, but I think everyone on the mediums will be in the next lap or so, because this is the point where they really start to suffer. The hard runners should be starting to dominate the pace of this race now. Yeah,
definitely so. Verstappen there in 14th, Gary there in 15th. Sorry, not Pease, by the way. Ryan, by the way, in the comments section asking about Rudy must be actually racing on his account. Yes, and what I was going to say about is Talon Factory in the Shazoo Racing Championship. They will be removed if they don't... basically, they've been found to have drivers that had no connection to the organisation, or drivers that were not registered on the roster to drive under someone else on their account, which is obviously what Ryan's referring to in the League of Europe, in our comment section here tonight. And they want a statement, basically, from Talent Factory saying, are you using these drivers or not? If not, you're basically out. So, big development possibly in the league racing world. Implications, of course, from myself, because I'm the commentator there, so I will obviously bring you up to date on Tuesday night about that. But Montana leads the way. Back to present, Montana leads the way. Wouter there in second, Pease there in third, Packer there in fourth, Rudy there in fifth. Nothing really happening. It's got a little bit stagnant, to be honest. I wish we had another sprint race, to be honest now. Packer, though, in from fourth, is into the pit lane, and was a lot quicker than Verstappen, actually, coming in the pit. So that might have saved him a bit of time. And Packer, where is Verstappen out on track? Verstappen's coming through Verstappen corner, quite remarkably, coming through 16, 17, and 18. Packer's coming out of his pit box now. On the goal set of hards, this is going to be quite close, I think, coming out the pit lane. Because obviously, once Packer gets those tyres up to temperature, Verstappen's pretty much going to be beside him. And I think Packer's going to get ahead here. He's well ahead coming out the pit lane.
Yeah, the fresh hards aren't quite the horror show that they were at Bahrain, but they're still not particularly nice. Verstappen's going to be behind J. Cole here coming into turn one. But J. Cole's going to go so deep into turn one, that's expected. Verstappen will get the cutback. Like there was no stress there for Verstappen. He's through into 13th, and he is very far behind, but he'll have big gains in this first section. By the time you get round to the turn 12 on the back end of the lap towards sector 3. The hards do come in well.
Oh,
And we'll start.
Gladbach. Sorry to cut you off. Gladbach's down the inside of Jekyll in the meantime. I know Jekyll's on Bambi on ice wheels at the minute, but Gladbach just went around the outside, coming through turn number 6 on him. Beautiful move that by Gladbach. He's soon he's into 14 as Jekyll struggles to get those tyres up to temperature as Nico is now right on the back of your own coming through turn 12.
Nico gets P6. That was. I feel like I missed that one. The man was like down in last place. It felt like for most of the time. But yeah, well, once the tyres come in, they are much quicker. So expect to see Packer, Gilbreen, Verstappen, who's passed Brendan now, and J. Cole's back fighting with Gladbach into turn 12. He's got that place back nice and quickly. Gary's keeping a watching brief on this as well. Can Gary try and nab a place here? Is Gladbach's going to hang this around the outside of 13 into 14? J. Cole's going to put a squeeze on. Is Gladbach going to fancy that little lunge into 15? No, but Gary is. Look at that, the inside of Gladbach into 16. And there's contact, and Gary's knocked into a half spin and nearly loses it for the second time on traction. That was feisty from Gary, and he probably got what he deserved for what was an outrageous overtaking attempt. He stays in 16th place. But yeah, these hard runners should be quicker than the leading non-stoppers by some margin now, by a thick end of a second a lap, because the fresh hards do give you quite the advantage. What Nico and Dan coming out of the pits now. Where's Nico going to feed into all of this?
He's going to come out ahead of Verstappen, I think, coming out the pit lane, but he is going to be very much under pressure from Verstappen coming down the hill in towards turn number 2. And do you know what? I think Verstappen might be ahead. He's going to go side by side in towards the S section, and he gets the job done. Verstappen, before turn number 3, gets the job done. And that is Nico now on that sort of very cold, hard compound tyre. Dan, by the way, has also came out ahead of Gladbach in all of this as well. And Gladbach loves turn 6. There he goes again down the inside of turn 7. Beautiful stuff by Gladbach. The German through, and he's into P15. Currently, theoretically, could be a net P10 potentially in terms of that move. So Gladbach through and he's into 15. Dan there in 16. Phenomenal stuff. Nico now has got his temperature roughly back up to temper. His tyres roughly up to temperature, but now Brendan's right on the back from him. He's over him like a hot rash, and the Irishman now on the back, running down the hill in towards turn number 12. Nico's going to try and hang it out there. There's a yellow flag just ahead of them, I think, as well, which I think might have been Yulbream having a mistake on Packer, if I'm not mistaken. So that might have been that. But Brendan now down the inside line of turn 13. All of a sudden, Montana, by the way, is in the pit lane from the lead of the race. And Brendan surely has got this job done. Nico's got to fight him back down the inside line through turn 15, but it's not quite close enough. And the Irishman through, and he's into 11th.
That was almost naughty for Brendan. He gave a little love tap there to the side of Nico's Aston Martin. Nico's struggling through 17 and 18 and towards 19 there. He's not quite happy on those halves yet. They should be up temperature. Let's have a look where Montana is shaken out. He's into P6, 4.5 seconds off the back of Izzat. Look at Izzat following Jerome here through turns 3, 4, 5 and 6. And Jerome gets a penalty for his stretch, probably like a rabbit caught in headlights there, with Izzat behind him and nabbed himself a penalty in the process. But Montana will be hoping that these two pit quite soon, because otherwise he could find himself in losing a second or two. Just see if he gets caught in any battles then. And they are quite spread out ahead of him, bar those two. So that could be a little stress that Montana doesn't need. But everyone on the hard tyres now, and the fact everyone's practically running different age tyres makes this a fascinating dynamic at the end of the race, because that Verstappen down to Dan battle.
Is it down the inside line of your own? Gets the job done. He's on 12 lap all tyres, and on lap 13, down and towards turn 12, he gets the job done. He's into 4th, and that could be crucial later on because of both of them have got a 3-second penalty. They're going to be well out of contention compared to obviously the gap in behind compared to the fresh set of hard runners, but they're doing a good job still. 4th and 5th position is in your own. Tyres will still last as Dan has got the move done as well on Gladbach down towards turn number 12. So Gladbach down in 16, Dan there in 15. ERT Jordan, by the way, I think this might be in Division 3 if I'm not mistaken. He has left the Discord server and he's had a potential purpose DNF. So that is Eloise Steward's decision, obviously, to give a penalty, but I think he's given himself a penalty in terms of leaving the Discord. But Rita leads away. He's in second, Rudy in third. We're halfway through.
If he left the Discord, then I assume he's blacklisted from the league, so any punishment would be inconsequential, but not something you ever like to see from any driver, and I'm sure Jordan will not be welcome back to that. Brendan, as is custom with Brendan this season, having a bit of a wobble on traction, pursuing Verstappen out of turn 14, I think it was. But yeah, that was a nice little overtake from Izzat on Giroud. All I was going to say before that was just that Verstappen down to Gladbach train is in finally poised, because we've got everyone kind of set on slightly different age tyres. So it's going to be interesting how that one shakes out. But is Montana catching this group? He's caught Giroud and Izzat by a second in the last lap. But I'll be honest, James, he's not catching it quite the rate I thought he was. The pit loss here is about 19 seconds. He's 15 behind Wouter. And I think Wouter is going to be 1.5 seconds a lap quicker after he makes his stop in around 5 or 6 laps time. This battle for the win is absolutely not over. The gap Montana pulled, 3 seconds on Wouter on the medium stint, was absolutely nothing special for the delta between these two tyres. There's every chance I'm going to have a look at Verstappen, speaking of something happening there, passing Brendan or recovering his position from Brendan into turn 12. And Brendan's looking very feisty in this. But the trouble is, the more these two scrap, the more they invite themselves to an attack from Nico, from J. Cole, from Gary, and even from Dan in Gladbach, who aren't too far back either.
Yeah, definitely so. Verstappen got the job done down and towards turn number 12. He was on the inside line of Brendan. I think it was a late lunge down the inside from the Dutchman, so he's through and he's into 10th position. Montana there, though, 2.1 seconds. He is gaining through the corners. Down the straight, he's losing anywhere between 0.3 and 0.5 of a second. So that is obviously going to come back to bite him, but through the corners, he's exceptional. That gap is only going to increase in terms of him closing and Jeroen and Iz's tyres obviously falling off. So once Iz and Jeroen's tyres fall off, Montana will be inside a second, and I think it'll be the end of this lap where he is inside that second position, that second place, of course, in terms of the gap that is out on track at this moment in time. Back to the battle over Verstappen and Brendan. It's looking very interesting, this battle. It's all finally poised potentially for a net P4, net P5 finish, potentially out on track. And Brendan has really excelled, I think, in terms of his performance so far. He's done a lap pressure size compared to Verstappen. Nico as well is doing a sterling job. Jacob and Gary as well doing good jobs. And Gary, to be fair, since obviously having that spin, he's recovered quite well. And the Irishman, of course, is on the back, running down the straight in towards turn number 12. And is he going to try and have a lunge at his former Excel teammate in Jacob, running down the straight. Gary closing in. Not going to be quite close enough, and everyone remains as they are. There's a slight look up there from Nico, I think, just in front. As I think we've lost Killer Blue. Rita leads the way. He's there in second, Rudy in third, Izzy there in fourth, Jeroen there in fifth, Montana there in sixth, and now Montana 1.2 seconds on the back there in sixth position at this moment in time. The second the gap at this point, and obviously doing a good job as we do that. You're back.
You caught me just as I was having a drink. So sorry about that. Yeah, I thought Gary was going to send that there to 10-12. I'm a little bit disappointed he didn't. Maybe SUser would have made that stick. Now we get to see how gutsy and aggressive Montana feels if he ate his Weetabix this morning. Because he's got a 29-point lead in the championship. He doesn't need to pick a fight with Jeroen and Izzat. He can settle for second behind Wouter, but obviously that's not in his nature. I'm intrigued because Jeroen's going to have DRS here. How aggressive is Montana going to be? Although I think with DRS, it doesn't even matter that Jeroen's got DRS because look how much traction he's got. So ignore everything I just said in the past 15 seconds. Montana is up into 5th place, and I think you'll find with that, now he's past Jeroen, Izzat should be easy pickings as well.
Do you know what? I think he might have to go around the triple right-hander with 16, 17 and 18 because he looks so close. He might even lunge a in towards turn 15 if he feels like he's got the guts, obviously, to try and go for the move. But why would you? He's got so much traction, though. He can probably get it done around here, but he's just not close enough. Not coming through 16, 17 and 18. So certainly down in towards turn number 1 is the place. Wouter, by the way, is in the pit lane. Montana's already out of turn 18. Wouter has lost about 10 seconds here, potentially, to Montana. And that is absolutely cataclysmic in terms of his gap being lost. And Wouter there in the pit lane. Set of mediums. P's also in set of medium compound size to go on. And Wouter coming out the pit lane. There it goes Montana, already through, and he's already getting past Izza as well. Down in towards turn number 1, the Ferrari will try and hold him up, but Montana through, and he's into second position. Izza there in third. But look at Wouter, he's already at the pit lane. He's 5, 6 seconds already behind. That gap is only going to increase. It's going to be more like 9, 10 seconds by the end of this lap. And Wouter, I think that's the wrong strategy call. He's now on a set of mediums, but can he see this set of mediums for 11, 12 laps on a bounce, making up a 1.5 seconds per lap? I don't think so.
We'll see. I mean, the warm-up phase won't be as bad on the medium, so Wout won't lose as much on his outlap as Montana would have done. They might even be in now. The first sector gives them a good grilling, literally and metaphorically. But yeah, Wout is what? He's 6.8 seconds off Montana. He's got 11 laps to go after this one. The fuel loads have burned down. The wear won't be quite as bad now as it was for the mediums who started. I think Wouter can still do this, but he does need qualifying laps, and he is a loss in terms of the ERS to Montana. It's not impossible. It's very much within Wouter's capabilities, but we shall see. The gap, as we said, about 6.5 seconds. So let's see how that shakes out over the next couple of laps or so.
Yeah, P's pulling away from Yulbrim there as well. It's now second the gap between the two Hasses. So P's obviously on the quicker strategy, and obviously he's going to gain that time as we go along. Rudy now into the pit lane. Izza into the pit lane. Neron into the pit lane, which means now Montana leads the race outright, and the gap is around 6.5 seconds, I believe, coming across the line from Montana to Wouter. May even be a little bit more than that. It's around 6 seconds. That was pretty much spot on there. Montana out on top, Wouter there in second. Rocco continues on there in third. Packer is in fourth. Rudy is coming out the pit lane. He's going to be side by side with Yulbrim, I think, coming out the pit lane here. The Hatsman around the outside of the Williams, and the Dutchman just about gets the job not done because he's obviously lost that move. So Yulbrim through and he's into 6th. Rudy there into 7th. There's a fight going on further down the field. Nico through and he's into 11th. Gary having more success than Man United through on J. Cole and he's into 12th position. And J. Cole there down into 13th as a result. And in terms of Man United, they got the 4-0 full-time result.
Yes, things you absolutely love to see. Manchester United, bottom of the Premier League.
I mean, it could be worse.
Nico got a little bit out of shape through turn 10, and I thought Gary was going to have a sniff there at his old teammate, his old Rubens Barrichello, who helped with that 2 titles. But no, on that occasion. Sorry, James, as you were.
Yeah, I was going to say, at least Man United have had a bit more success. Alicia Kong conceded a goal to a goalkeeper, which is what we did, Sunderland against QPR earlier on, and that was not great at all, and it was from a set piece as well, which is even worse. Gary on the back of Nico, though, in 11th and 12th position. The Aston Martins and the AlphaTauri have got to go, of course, fighting in terms of this battle. It's been a very, very good race, I've got to say, so far. No safety cars, no VSCs. I'm honestly wanting a safety car for the likes of Gladbach, for the likes of commentators, and for the likes of Maladix. I'd be wanting a safety car at this point if I was them, but I'm not in their shoes. I'm obviously commentating along and obviously speaking my mind to you wonderful people in the chat. Izza on the back of Forza Brendan is looking quite good. Izza's obviously got the pace up. Rudy as well on the back of Yulbrim, running down the straight towards turn number 1. Here comes Rudy on the back of Yulbrim. And I think P's also got the move done on Packer there. I think that was what you're mentioning about in the comments in behind. But P's there in third, Packer there in fourth. Rudy also gaining position up to 5th, and Izza is also gaining position on Forza Brendan, and he is through and he's into 8th. So the medium runners now making pay. Wouter's gained a second on Montana in the last 2 laps. Half a second a lap so far. He's just had a moment coming out of turn number 9 and 10. And it's 5 seconds the gap with around 10 laps to go. Can he pursue Montana down and stop him from going 3 out of 3?
He certainly can. He's in a good position, but the trouble is that the advantage he'll have over Montana on the mediums will start to diminish lap by lap. He'll gain a little bit less. We've got Giron and Dan. I can see swapping places into turn 11. And that's the second time Dan's been mugged off into turn 11 today.
Is it on the back of Verstappen? So I've got you up again. There's so much action going on.
We've got so much going on.
Yeah, Jeroen's on the back of J. Cole as well, running down the straight. But is it through and he's into 7th? J. Cole and Jeroen side by side. The Mercedes tries to hang it there on the inside line. The Red Bull's now going to be on the inside for turn number 13. And the Red Bull tries to hang it on the inside line. The Mercedes on the outside line, trying to get the job done. And Jeroen should have this move. He does have that move. Beautiful stuff. He's through and he's into 12th position, as you were.
It's not what Gary needed, is it? To suddenly see Giron on fresh means Gary's looking ahead to Nico, to Brendan to try and dispatch those guys. And now he's got a very hungry medium shod Mercedes behind him. Wouter gained another 4 or 5 tenths in Sector 3. Sector 3, the traction zone, Sector 3, coming out of turn 12, coming out of turn 14, and out of 16. You gain so much on fresh tyres. That's where the big gains are for Wouter right now. He's down to 4.4. He needs to keep that rate up and perhaps a little bit more to give him enough opportunities to attack Montana by the end of the race. Pease, albeit on similar tyres, isn't really in the picture. He's slower than Wouter by some margin. Packer is hanging with him nicely. This could be a battle we might see evolve come the end of the race. If Pease can't outstrip Packer on pace right now, come lap 25, lap 26, 27, we could see Packer making a move for P3. So watch that space as well. And as always, as we said all race, watch the... oh, look at Giron up the inside of Gary there into turn 11. Giron had a taste of it last lap. He's got another taste of this lap. He's up another place. But I was just going to say, keep an eye on the Verstappen train, as we have been saying all race. And I'll interrupt myself again, because here comes Forza Brendan on the Verstappen train towards turn 12. He pulls out the inside line, he's got his DRS, and he's ahead safely by the braking zone. He can make that move stick, goes a little deep, he'll just cut across. Stops Verstappen in his tracks, and Brendan
on your own.
In 58.
Your own nearly launched it down the inside of Gary, of Nico as well. The Aston Martin nearly getting the, the Mercedes getting the move done on the Aston Martin there. Nico's now struggling in terms of that hard. Jerome making up really good ground on the set of mediums. Watch out though, I was going to come and cut you off there by saying, Rudy, 7 tenths per second off the back of Packer. He's there in P5. Packer is not gaining on Pease. Pease is the one that is pulling away from him, and I think it's going to remain that way for the remainder of this race. But he's got to watch out behind, because Rudy, on fresher tyres, is now going to try and hunt Packer down. And we know what Rudy is like on his day. Very good driver. Jeroen and Nico side by side as well up the hill, in towards turn 1 at the roller coaster. Gary up the inside line as well, trying to counteract on that. But the Aston Martin has now lost the position to Jeroen, and Jeroen through, and he's into P10. But yeah, back to what I was saying with Rudy and Packer. Rudy on his day, very good driver, very quick. We know his pace. He's picked up a couple of podiums here in League of Europe before, and now he's on the back of Packer. 2.5 seconds behind Pease at the moment. I don't think that'll be on his mind at this stage. It'll be this short-term goal of getting past Packer on the run down towards turn number 12, and I think he's now going to open up that ERS, open up that DRS. He might not even need his battery to try and get this move done, because this looks absolutely on for the Williams. He pulls alongside halfway down the straight, and the Alpine now has got nothing to give, and Rudy is through, and he's into 4th position. Packer there in 5th is also through, and he's into 6th, and Jeroen chasing down Verstappen as well, closing in the Mercedes on the back of the Alfa Romeo, but not quite close enough as Packer fights back at Rudy once again through turn 13, but Rudy holds on, and Rudy stays in 4th.
By the end of that, I think Packer was wrestling to keep a hold of his own car and his own 4 wheels attached, let alone take a move on Rudy. Jeroen passes Verstappen into turn 16. Fabulous assault, a charge through the field from Jeroen. His forward progress today has been ridiculous, as is, I want to give a shout out to Izzat. That man started in P20th, and he's now up in P6. He's had a meteoric rise, although one that has kind of slipped under the radar a little bit in this race. And Packer he's hanging on to Rudy's DRS, but now I think we're going to see that Williams scampering the distance in no time at all.
Yeah, definitely so. Rocco on the back of Gladbach as well, just further down the field. Rocco dummies him to the inside line. My God, that is late on the brakes, and the Mercedes gets the job done. Gladbach tried to counteract that. He moved across in the braking zone there. Good job Rocco had that done on the brakes. Otherwise, there could have been an absolute massive accident between them both. Rocco through, and he's into 15th. Obviously got the measure now of Gladbach, who is coming back through the S section. Clearly got a very strong cornering setup on. Has the man, the Alfa Romeo man, of course, filling in tonight for Campbell. Doing a good job. Montana leading the way. 3.5 seconds over Wouter there in second. Wouter is getting closer. I don't think he's going to catch him though before the end of the race. Speaking of catching though, Jeroen on the back of Forza Brendan. Next target aligned, and now next target passed, because Jeroen pulling down the straight, surely going to get the job done, and he does. He's through, and he's into 8th. The relentless man absolutely flying through the field. Falls to Brendan there in 9th as well. Verstappen there in 10th, Nico there in 11th. Nothing really happening as Maledictus is in to the pit lane, and he's having his own private battle of the wooden spoon with commentators further down the field in 17th and 18th position. But Montana leads the way. Wouter there in second, another 2 tenths gained, 3.3 seconds with 5.5 laps to go. It's looking okay, but I think he needs to gain more time.
It's marginal. It's very marginal between Wouter and Montana. It's 3.2. He might get this. He might have one gun-ho attempt turn 12 on the last lap, possibly. The problem is Montana can see this assault coming. He's keeping his ERS nicely in his pocket. He's on 43%. Wouter's just using it as an opportunity he gets. He's on 10%. He's letting himself derate happily down the straight. So there's potential issues there for Wouter. If he comes to get in that DRS range, Montana has more to defend with than I think Wouter possibly has to attack with. Jeroen's really carving his way through the field, isn't he? And I think he's going to get another one, probably this lap, because Julbrim ahead of him has no ERS at all, nor does Sharon really. But I think Sharon's got enough tyres and with DRS has enough to make that move, possibly into turn 12, definitely into turn 1 next lap round.
Yeah, he's closing in. He's got hardly any battery loads, obviously try and get this route done. I'm looking immediately at Nico and Verstappen, 10th and 11th position on the graphic on the left-hand side. Jekyll also gaining quite quickly. I'm going to come back to this battle now. Nico on the inside line of Verstappen, down the inside and towards turn number 12. The Aston Martin hangs it in there. The Spaniard makes contact with the Dutchman. And now Jekyll right on the back, maybe trying to pick up the pieces if these two collide, as now Jeroen absolutely sends that down the inside of Julbrim. Saw that in the camera shot, and Julbrim now has to go around the outside of Jeroen. So Jeroen through and he's into 7th. Julbrim now in 8th. Good job we got off that battle because Verstappen has been overtaken by Nico and Jekyll's in that battle still as well. But Jeroen through and he's into 7th again. Opportunistic coming through turn 15. Got the job done. Another half a second gain, by the way, for Wouter. He's there in 2nd position, 2.8 seconds. Marginal. In my calculations, half a second gain, he's going to be about 8/10 behind onto the final 2 laps of the race if he gains a half a second a lap. So it is very marginal, but if he gets within DRS final lap of the race, it's on. As Gary gets to move done and Dan.
He does indeed. Does Montana feel pressure? Is he human? Does he feel the advances of Wouter pulsating, breathing down the back of his neck, or is it nothing to him? I mean, he'd come into an interview after this race where we do them and tell you, oh, it was awful, I felt so much pressure. But you always wonder, just with how peerless and much of a perfectionist Montana is, if he feels that attack coming, or if it's just another calculation for him.
Yeah, Izza on the back now of Packer running down the straight as well. Izza's going to sail on by another one coming through the field on that sort of medium compound tyres, and Izza through and he's into 5th. He's got that 3-second penalty overarching them at this moment in time. There are the 3-second penalties, by the way. Jekyll and Verstappen are going to go side by side towards turn number 12 again, and Dan and Gary are side by side as well, coming through turn number 12. But there are the 3-second penalties, providing nothing else happens. Izza's got 3, Jeroen on 3, Ruckel on 3, Gladbach on 3. I thought there would have been a lot more penalties compared to what we've got at the minute. Very good stuff, though, out on track by everyone. Montana still leads the way. Another 4/10 gain the last lap around. And Wouter is beginning to feel the pressure. I think his tyres are now beginning to drop off. And do you know what? I think Montana, the more he goes and the more he tries to extend his lead, the more chasing that Wouter has got to do. I don't think it's going to be possible now. 3.5 laps to go. He's got to gain, ideally, 0.6 of a second to even get within DRS range. And at the moment, he's dropped a 1/10 of a second compared to his room last time around as Rocco dives it down the inside of Dan. Up to 14th position he goes. But Wouter on the back of Montana, I don't think it's on. 2.5 seconds. It's now beginning to fluctuate, and that is not good.
Wouter had a very shoddy first sector. He lost about 2.5 tenths to Montana, which just set him back in what he didn't need. This is his strength. This is Wouter's strength, sector 3. This is where the tyres are most advantageous. But I think Wouter's losing too much now in sector 1, or at least not gaining enough in sector 1. It's making the rest of the lap a struggle just to keep on the pace that he needs. Have we got any other close battles for them? We've got Verstappen, as always, really, in this race, towing several along with him. Jekyll has now sort of risen to the front of that train. He's got a chance to overtake the Alfa Romeo. He's gaining very slowly towards turn 12. He needs to get a shift on, though, or Verstappen will be... we've got a yellow flag that's just come as it's retiring in the pit lane.
Terrible. I thought he was going to... Well, I don't say he's going to cause a safety car, because that's against the league rules, but it would have been nice to have a safety car, I think, at this point in the race, because it would have spiced things up quite a lot, I think, in terms of that.
You need a killer blue in your division for that.
You do indeed. You do indeed. Over me, potentially, in Division 2, I think it was... It was in F2 in League of Europe where it calls a safety car. I think it was in the Netherlands, if I'm not mistaken. I remember that off the back of my mind. Rocco on the back of Gary is looking quite an interesting battle. 13th and 14th position currently out on track. Was all stuck within that DRS train. At this moment in time, though, Rocco 14th position on the back of Gary is going to try and lunge down the inside into a turn of one. You bet he will. Down the inside goes the Mercedes. Gary there on the outside line. Going to be hung out to dry. Beautiful move that by Rocco. That was absolutely world class. Rocco through and he's into 13. Gary down into 14. You could see him setting it up from that far back, from basically 50 metres before the braking point of turn number 1. Rocco set that up Beautifully done. He's through and he's into 13th. And the man can overtake.
What could have been for Gappy this season? He drops it all by his lonesome at Imola when he could have had a P4 waiting for him. He was in a similar position today, couldn't hang it out, and had that spin or that contact with Verstappen possibly. He's thrown away a hatful of points, as Gary. Partly his own fault, partly not. And let's have a look at J. Cole.
We called that at the same time. J. Cole down the inside of turn number 12. He locks up. Verstappen on the outside line. He's contacted there by the Mercedes of Rocco. And Rocco from hero to zero. And he's actually going to go back to hero. Oh, and he nearly spins on the inside curb. Coming through, and he's lost the position again to Verstappen, which I think is a little bit of karma from what he did a little bit earlier on in the lap. But Rocco there in 15th position. Just a slight bit of contact, but it's all worked itself up in the end. And Gary has picked up a 5-second penalty for corner cutting. About as much luck as Man United in the Championship next season.
Say Gary will be looking at the screen saying my luck's beginning to turn, but absolutely not the case. Then what has happened, James?
Gladbach just ran so wide coming out of turn number 19. I thought he was going to go to the Mexican border there, to be honest. But Rocco's on the back of Verstappen on the run up towards turn number 1 once again. The final 11 kilometres of this race now unfolding, and Rocco dives down the inside line. Turn number 1 is his favourite opportunistic overtaking opportunity. And now Rocco and Verstappen are side by side into the S section. This is not going to work out for somebody. It has, though. Rocco's then he's into 14th. Marvellous stuff. And Verstappen has just been done like an absolute kipper for the second time in about 2 laps. Verstappen there down in 15th. Montana, though, leads. Right to second. P's in third. And look at the front two. Just in a glorious 12.5 second lead over P's.
Rudy is in the hunt for a podium place. Now half a second behind P's with 1 lap to go. He's going to give himself 2 attempts into turn 1 and to turn 12. That was nice racing from Rocco and Verstappen as well, playing dare with the throttle. And Rocco held his nerve long enough to come out of that with 14th place. Although it's academic, no points on offer, but there is a point on offer between Dan and Gary there into turn 12. Dan makes the move stick, and he could be on course for his first point in Division 1 in League of Europe. A man who's been in LOE, I think, since Season 1. Never in Division 1, but he's on course for his first D1 point now if he can hold on to that place he's just picked up.
Yeah, doing a phenomenal job. The final 5.5 kilometres now unfolding out on track. Montana leads the way. 2.2 seconds over Wouter, and it's just looked again imperious for Montana. We thought for a moment that Wouter could get onto the back of him. His tyres have just completely shut off the cliff, and they're now not even gaining any sort of time whatsoever. We'll obviously turn our attention to the battles further down the field as they go along. Pease and Rudy, 3rd and 4th position. They've got still 3/4 of a lap to go, and Rudy now trying to hunt down Pease on that lap. Fresher tyre, 10 laps compared to 11 laps. And Rudy's got about 4 or 5% fresher tyres at this stage in the race. Can the Talon Factory man get on the back of the relentless man for this potential podium finish for Rudy? He's on the back coming through turn number 12. Montana and Wouter are down at the bottom end of the straight. That's how far ahead they are. And they're still gaining time as a result. Rudy, though, closing on the back. It's an endless drag down towards turn number 12, and do you know what? He's closing in very rapidly indeed. The Williams pulls to the inside line. So this is for a podium potentially, and Rudy dives down the inside line. Beautiful stuff on the brakes. He gets the job done. He's through and he's into 3rd. But Pease now is not having this the hard way, because he goes around the outside of turn number 14 and 15, and now in towards this section out on track 14 and 15. Rudy dives down the inside line. Not going to work that one out. He forced them off track. It's getting a little bit aggressive. Montana to the line, by the way, wins the American Grand Prix. Wouter there in 2nd. Rudy, though, was back through and he's into 3rd. I think he might have forced him off track, to be honest, if I'm going to be brutally honest in that involvement, in that incident. And Rudy, in the end, is going to pick up P3. Goodness knows what Eloise Stewart will make of that, though. But Rudy crossed the line, finishes in 3rd. For me, I think he forced him off track, and I think Pease might have got that podium if that wasn't the case. Izza there in 5th. Packer there in 6th. Jerome there in 7th. He's got a 3-second penalty, I think, but he is going to remain that way in 7th. Ildream there in 8th. Forza Brendan 9th. Nico, J. Cole, Dan rounding off the top 12, and then the rest of the penalty finishers are coming across the line. Rocco's got 5 seconds, obviously, along with Gary, and we have probably glitch there on the time. Oh no, everyone's crossed the line, that's why. 15th build for Gary in the end, and unfortunately, just like Man United, no points here tonight in terms of the racing. Izza, though, picks out driver of the day. Yeah, good solid drive from him, but there's only one man I think I might have to go to once again. I know we keep saying that potentially. Is anybody going to stop him? No. Montana takes another win out on track, and Killer Blue, he really did it quite easily tonight.
So you say that, I was ready to say, I think he didn't have it easy today. I think Wouter put him under a lot of pressure. He led through the pit stop and he held on to that lead, but I think it was no given that he was going to hold on to that gap. The tyres just went away from Wouter, and he certainly did not have it his way in the sprint. So it was another Montana win, and with Rudy down in third, stewards permitting if he decides to report that. I think that was very naughty from Rudy, but he's extended his championship lead by, well, another 10 points in the Grand Prix and another 2 points in the sprint. So Montana's lead now stands at, I think, 36 points with my quick maths. So as you say, I don't think anyone can stop him. Connor can stop him, but Connor's his own. Connor likes to crash too much. Yastas isn't here. Wouter gave it absolutely everything and still could not stop Montana. So I think that's curtains.
Yeah, Wouter got, by the way, fastest up the race by 0.8 of a second over Montana as well. But Montana takes the win. Wouter there in second, Rudy there in third, Pease there in fourth. Of course, that podium is pending in terms of that. Is a 20th on the grid, up to 5th. Driver of the day, definitely, I think, if that's the case. Packer, Jeroen, Yildirim, Forza Brendan, Nico top 10. Jekyll and Dan filling out the point-scoring finishes. Verstappen, Gladbach, Gary, Rocco, Maledictus, all finishing with Carl Mensless, Reservoir, and Connor DNFing out of the race at various stages tonight. And that is a brilliant end, I think, to what has been a brilliant Grand Prix, of course, here in America. And we've not got long to wait because we're going to the Sunshine State in a week's time, from Texas all the way down to Florida. Of course, we go for the Miami Grand Prix at the Miami International Autodrome, and it's going to be a fantastic race around there, of course, for the second part of the American double header. Looking forward into what we've got, of course, to come for the rest of the season as well in terms of the calendar, as we are not going to be conducting any interviews tonight because we've got to be away after the end of this stream. Monza, of course, comes after that, with Singapore on the 3rd of September, pretty much all the way down until we get to Spain, which is the only break week in between the 22nd and the 5th of November. That's the only break week there. And then, of course, ending up with Brazil and Abu Dhabi being the final 2 rounds of the season. But Miami next week, of course, Jake. It's going to be fascinating, I think, to see what Miami can bring. First visit to the track for us in LOE. What can the drivers look forward to? Because I've commentated on a few races, and to be honest, they're absolutely mad.
I think it could bring some safety cars. We mentioned very briefly, I went through all of today without a VSC or a safety car at all. I think even the only yellow flags we had were outside of lap 1, people retiring in the pit. So we had some very clean, although bit gripping races today. I think we're going to see that turn on its head next week. I think we could see a little bit of some front wings flying, some end plates here and there. I think we could see cars in the wall, tyres stringing from their tethers, and hopefully, just for once, we might see someone other than Montana win a race. But, you know, well, I think I haven't seen any pigs fly past my window yet, so maybe that one's going a little bit too far.
Yeah, it's wishful thinking, I think, if we're going to have to predict Montana not to win next week in Miami. I know he is quite strong around the track there as well. But once again, a big thank you to everyone that has tuned in, of course, here in Austin. I think we reached over 30 viewers, if I'm not mistaken, as well. So thank you to each and every one of you, of course, for tuning in. Division 2 and Division 4, alongside, of course, the beautiful commentary team of, and I need to get this up on Twitter so I don't mess it up, because I'm immediately discounting myself in terms of what I'm going to be saying to you in the next 30 seconds or so. And in terms of the commentary, of course, tonight for Division 2, both at 8:10, by the way, as well. Jekyll and Commensler's doing Division 2, and then Packer and Verstappen, of course, taking you through Division 4 this week as well. Both of them coming up in 18 minutes' time at 8:10 UK time. So you've got enough time to go and have a cold shower that I'm going to do, because I'm absolutely sweating in this commentary box, and it's not great because I've got a very hot PS4, very hot laptop, and I'm going to let them cool down now. Big thank you, of course, to Jake for joining me in the commentary box as always, and we will see you next week in Miami. So thank you so much for watching, and until